Welcome back to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, as we return with open hearts towards Rogue Warriors and EDG. And the crowd is packed with the rivalry here between teams that have realistically been at the top of the food chain for a while. Rogue Warriors, however, big change-ups in 2019. They dropped, but EDG this split are rising. And on your screens, you can see that the matchup was about Haro, the return of this man, but not to EDG, to Rogue Warriors. It's a revenge matchup coming through here today. And having a look through some of the faces of Rogue Warriors and some of the faces of EDG, whose birthday was it? I'm not sure. I'll ask a little bit later, Clever Chew, don't worry. Ignore me for the time being. But one of the other bigger change-ups is this man on your screen right here, Jinoo, who's doing a workout to get into today. And everyone asleep at the same time. iBoy's like, nah, man, I'm not sleeping. Don't look at me. No worries there. But the biggest focus was Jinoo, who was on your screen before, because that's a big top lane shift and a big shift for EDG. Welcome back to the LPL. My name's Shaker Serix Meiko, joined by Mr. Clement Chu. And Clement, this series to me should be bigger than the standings let on.
Oh yeah, like Rogue Warriors are a team that I think more people should give them a little bit more credit. Yep. This is a new team, a lot of new players on the team, and honestly, they've been facing some very, very tough opposition.
Big schedule.
They haven't won a game yet. I'm not talking about matches. Like 0 games yet.
Yeah.
However, they've been playing against FBX, Top Esports, and RNG. So a lot of these game results I feel like are excusable. But we've also been seeing strong early game performances in a lot of these series.
Whereas a team like EDG, they're on the up and up. People are saying, wow, this is the return of glory for EDG. Now, despite their previous series, you've got yourself the early jungler, or rather fresher jungler, in Jiejie, going up against the old EDG jungler in Haro. So this is going to be the revenge for Haro.
Yeah, this is the 3rd generation Naruto against the 4th generation from EDG at this point. Clear Love is number 1, then you have Fire Lily. Then it was Haro who stepped onto the plate, but unfortunately didn't parted ways with the organization. And the interesting thing is that these two junglers actually have very similar profiles. Number 1 is that they have very good first blood rates. They're great at figuring out which lane is going to push and which lane to punish. Also, the second thing is that they're both very heavy damage dealers on their teams. They are expected to do more of the carrying in the early game, more expected to go into all of the skirmishes. So we're going to see a lot of action early, and I bet that there's going to be a little bit of emotion between these two.
Because a lot of people won't know Jiejie to that note as well. And like we said, he's facilitating now EDG. But we have not seen Clear Love. It has been all about Jiejie. He's been coming in each and every game and has been consistent as hell. But what we can kind of separate the two junglers by is the fact that Haro, although a good jungler, not as aggressive or crazy as Jiejie. Like, Jiejie is insane.
Jiejie is completely off the scale. And listening to their mic checks, he actually does a lot of the shot calling as well. Very deadpan sort of humor, just like kill this, kill that. So it's kind of fun to listen to him.
For context for everyone out there, if you haven't seen the Olaf flash over the wall at Red Buff, like that, week 1 or week 2, that was so good. It was perfect. So it's kind of what you can expect from this man. Either he embodies Olaf, he is Olaf, or just really likes the champion. On the side of Haro, it's a good comparison because I think old versus the new is how we're going to play this one. And Haro has given more identity to the new Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, he's a big point of focus on their team. The way that they played in their earlier opening sets has always been Elise and Rek'Sai, and you constantly gank for Holder, who I believe is probably in terms of the laning strength their strongest lane overall.
He's up there in terms of the league too.
Yeah, so they 2v2 gank that a lot, but after that has been failing, he's been moved more towards the Jarvan, the tank Jarvan, and the tank ZWuji to try and figure out maybe a different way to win the game with ZWuji as the main point of carry. So they're still trying to go through these roster changes, and we do have to say to you that I think Rogue Warriors themselves as a squad is not a team that's completely figured out. So far in 8 games, they've ran 4 rosters, and this is going to be the 4th one that we're coming back to. We had Wei-Yin in the jungle as well, and HWQ was a top laner for their academy team, move into the mid lane to try and see what happens instead of HuaTian.
Yeah, of course. I do want to come back to the point before we start talking about the rosters and what is actually going to fit here and what we think of the future of Rogue Warriors. I want to talk about that strength of schedule, because so far, Rogue Warriors, as you said, not hard done by, but they have had a really tough start. The only one that I say is kind of inexcusable is the one against OMG.
Oh, yeah, and that one was quite tragic as well. They were winning the entire way for the first game and then got Elder Drake stolen and lost the game shortly afterwards.
Good old Yeehan.
Yeah, what you have to say is they have good early games to start with. In the RNG series, they actually had the kill lead in the early game. 75% first blood rate throughout most of their games, mainly focused on the top side of the map. So they are doing things correctly. However, this team, when it comes down to it, Baron control, big issue for them. Only 20% control over that Baron. So most of the games, they don't even see the big purple worm at all. And actually only 10% Baron control and 20% Dragon control. So their synergy around controlling big objectives has been the thing that has been costing them most of these mid and late games, and the most important thing that they need to improve on.
And also made harder by the fact that, you know, this team has not won a game, and the fact that they haven't won a game, it's like, well, you don't have objective control because you don't end up winning anyway.
I think the best thing about this team is still going to be ZWuji in the bot lane. He is the most efficient damage dealer we have in the league. 192% damage, gold to damage conversion rate. So even though his death might be a little bit high, he always gives you his money worth in terms of dishing out that damage.
He has been bullied a lot in a lot of these matchups as well. So there's been a lot of focus towards the bottom side, where Haro has been focusing a lot towards Holder. Again, we'll get deeper into that, but I do want to touch on the fact that before you're talking about HWQ coming in, the change-ups throughout different lanes, and what is going to work, because we talked a little bit about Wei-Yin and what he provided, and in this Rogue Warriors lineup, what the plan is going ahead, because they do have an extensive roster.
Yeah, there's a lot of different moving parts to this one, and so far it feels like they have decided on running one guy most of the time. However, today they're also swapping back Killua into the roster.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'm sure who's going to be starting right here.
It is, well, yeah.
We know who's going to be starting, but over time, like, who's going to solidify
I was
their
like,
roster.
but Clement, we know today. But you're damn right. What is going to be the go-ahead? But at least for today, we can start with Holder in the top lane, Haro jungle, HuaTian, who's been performing better this split, I'll say, ZWuji, Killua, bottom side, and their coach, Meiko.
Yeah, you always remember the members, like the champions that HuaTian plays, because he's always had such good highlights on those champions that he has mastery on. The Syndra comes to mind, the Aurelia, the Yasuo. He is very specific in his champion pool.
And this split, it's changed a little bit. More the Silas, the Nico, what we expect out of someone like Plex, the similarities between these two mid laners. And it's exciting to see going up against EDG that his champion pool will be tested as we go to EDG's lineup.
And EDG today, the big thing to note is that they're no longer playing with Hope in the previous series. They are switching back to iBoy. So probably no more Yasuo and Graga's shenanigans, but we're going to see a little bit more stability in the carrying role. Usually Zyra Khan has been the go-to for these guys.
Also carrying role in the top lane with Jinoo up there. Of course, it is Jiejie starting out today. Scout in the mid lane, and you mentioned iBoy before. Meiko alongside him, and Hart, of course, their standing coach here. As we go into the second split of him alongside.
Very important to mention, even though he's not standing on the Bandpick stage, we do have Kesman on Rogue Warrior as well. They did have a coaching swap between Snake and Kesman, between RNG and Rogue Warrior as the two organizations. So they do have the minds of success that carried the previous Royal roster to their heights. And we're running down all of the potential matchups this time around. I think the biggest one for me is still going to be around the bot lane. These two are very, very young AD carries, and EDG actually has one of the youngest rosters right now in the entirety of the LPL. ZWuji and iBoy is going to be that future matchup that's going to last there for a long time. You're going to hear of these two names repeatedly. Yeah,
Wuji's only just come into his element, played a hell of a spring split, and coming into summer, he's now going to be thrown into the pit of flame once again here in this matchup. You talk about bot, and iBoy and Meiko sure going to give him hell.
Yeah, and the other matchups are going to be explosive as well, especially the jungle one that we've been talking about. Whoever gets first blood, they repeat gank, they continue to skirmish. Very bloody and action-oriented jungles when we look at the top side. Also, Holder versus Jinoo is very interesting as well. They both come from the tradition of carry Korean top lane imports.
See, that takes the cake, even though it was Haro and Jiejie, which I'm sure the junglers going to be going head at it. And by the way, we've pretty much gone through every matchup. Holder and Jinoo for me is great because Holder's laning phase we talked about before, and the fact that Jinoo can be so bloody. Solo kills there for Jinoo in Spring were at the peak alongside the Shy. Someone like Holder we didn't see in Spring. So now that we finally get this matchup, it's good to see that the top side of the map is going to give us hell as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting picks between these two. Holder was first known for his Gameplank and Akali play. Very sharp mechanics on those two. And on the other hand, you have Jinoo, who's known for Aatrox, Riven, and Quinn. A lot of interesting sides there. The way these two teams have been drafting as well has been quite interesting because you see Jinoo a lot of times left with the freedom of the last pick counter. So I actually think in this matchup, I do prefer the red side. And overall, we see in the LPL, the red side does have a 14% win rate lead.
Yes, which out of any other league is just not there at the moment across the world. I remember hearing that the blue is just the way to go. It sounds like a narcotic or something. Sorry, guys. But at the moment, in the red side in the LPL, yeah, you're darn right. And these are one of the few teams that can play towards that, and one of the few teams at the moment that are looking towards that red side victory, because Rogue Warriors, EDG, both substandard win rates. Well, apart from Rogue Warriors, excuse me, but they have preferred the red side in the past.
Yes, they definitely have. Now, when you don't win a game, it's hard to have a
preferred side.
Yes.
Like, I'm losing more on red, but is that us? Is that the side?
Well, EDG, for them, this is a rebounding match as well. They've currently lost 2 matches in a row. One to
IG and WE. The WE upset is what really shut down EDG.
Yeah, that was a surprising one. They did play with that one with Hope. They do this over the splits quite regularly. They always have a couple of series early on where they let Hope try and see and reward him for his performances.
Good behavior.
Yeah.
You're out on bail.
However, I don't think his Yasuo was necessarily going to cut it, and they did lose the W mainly in the team fight sections of the match. So I think iBoys actually will shore up the roster a little bit more. Probably will have a stronger laning phase overall. And something that I'm really afraid for ZWuji is that they've been dove underneath their tower many, many times. Both RNG and FPX have played the same exact strategy against them. If he's trying to play a carry role, a hard carry role like something like the Kai'Sa, he's going to get shoved in and just taken care of. So a lot of times it's not just about how strong their individual laning phase is, but protection for their bot lane is something that Rogue Warriors also need to put a lot more attention to if they want Uji to get to that phase where he can have the best conversion rate.
Actually get into a fight, yeah. A lot of these times, Rogue Warriors been getting into a fight where ZWuji doesn't have any resources. He has nothing. So, like, what is he doing in the fight? Well, definitely not more than your AD carry. And that's largely been the case. RNG, FPX, top esports, another tough opponent they've gone into. But in the case of OMG, you look at them and you're like, well, that loss for Rogue Warriors, I mean, that was big.
That was very brutal because that was one match where they thought they had the best chance against. Now remember, Rogue Warriors, for most of our casting crew, we did peg them as a team that was in playoff range or very close to playoff range.
That's right.
Yeah, the way I looked at this playoffs, and I'll repeat my general view on it, is we're probably going to see WE and DMO kind of drop off from that playoff bracket in spring, and those 2 slots are going to be open to a lot of teams. Suning is vying after that. LNG look like they're been there already, and then you have Rogue Warriors very close to coming into that roster. Also, V5 was unexpectedly strong.
Yeah. I mean, we say Rogue Warriors very close, but the start of 0 and 4, excuse me, that doesn't fill you with hope for now. But remember, single round robin here in the LPL, 16 teams, 15 games, or series rather, that teams have to play, and Rogue Warriors already through 4 of them. This for them, even though it's a hard team in EDG, one of the top tier that we're expecting to definitely make playoffs. If Rogue Warriors can take a game, instill us with more confidence, then that changes the feeling going forward.
And we have to remember how Rogue Warriors made a name for themselves. They were playing up against RNG with Uzi coming back, and they finished the game with a Baron Steal and a Pentakill.
And that was the old roster.
Yes, but it still had ZWuji.
Yeah, he was the man. He was a highlight man, so you're right. And that's how the name carries into summer, right? So now as we go into, finally, thank you for waiting, ladies and gentlemen, but second of all, as we go into this first game, Rogue Warriors still bringing their A game, their A roster, EDG doing the same. A lot of mutual respect here, especially in that jungle matchup as we go forward and look to see who can keep their eyes on the prize.
All right, so taking away the Renekton right off the bat, a very strong blue side blind pick in the LPL because we can play it in multiple positions. This is something that no other region really has as much of. Even the LCK don't play as much Renekton as we do.
Yep.
And we see EDG really targeting Holder and HuaTian at the same time. Like we said, this is a team that likes to find a lot of their early kills in the top side of the map.
You're also taking Aurelia as a possibility to send up there. Now remember that Holder has that wide champion pool, and I love that both Jinoo and Holder are big Renekton players. Now,
Yes.
They played a lot in the LPL, but these guys take the cake. So there's going to be a lot of contention around that pick. See if it gets let through in future ban
Has to
phases.
be
but
Aatrox right here.
yeah, that's right. This needs to be taken away. It's done havoc in the LPL.
Now, this is a really interesting one because both of these players can play Fiora as well, and we've seen that matchup actually go sour.
But Aatrox is open.
Yep.
Who do they give it to? Because this is still a triple flex.
Now, there's very interesting mind games going on here because when someone picks Aatrox and then they try to swap it to the mid lane, the Fiora can actually follow into the mid lane as well. And we've seen Icon pull off that type of a counter pick.
Yep.
So EDG still have a lot of options open, even giving the Aatrox over.
Because you take away the Renekton, and that's one of the options that can go into the Aatrox. So surprise here from EDG, but they've got more priority on the Olaf. The Karma, two very powerful picks at the moment with over 60% win rate here in the LPL.
And this really forces you to think, do you want to give over the Sivir as well? That's one of those matchups where they're going to have priority nonetheless.
Yep.
It's so damaging when bot lane from red side has priority. They can shove in and they can move into your red side jungle, and your bot lane is going to be locked in underneath your tower. It's a little bit different on blue side where they can still go through inner try, but giving over priority on red is very difficult to deal with. However, Rogue Warriors look like that's the path that they're going to go for. They're going to go for a lane that doesn't have a lot of priority, not a lot of wave clear potential, but great late game carry.
Played this a lot in spring, but coming into summer, ZWuji has yet to pick up the Ezreal in all games. Now remember, they've played 8 already, so this is a surprise to see it once again, but the Sivir going into it.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't really like this setup. This is a very easy for EDG to control at this point. Like, they can have something that just pushes in the mid lane. Sivir's going to have priority over this lane, and the red side is going to be like a graveyard for Haro. It's going to be so difficult for him to walk in to his own side. And you have to think, that red side is so important for junglers. There's much more EXP on the bottom side of the map than there is on the top side. So I have to see some changes here in the jungle position and the potential mid lane position to win back that priority, or it's just going to be very difficult for Haro to find anything.
Potential jungle. Remember, Haro can always take the Aatrox into the jungle, so let's find out where it goes, because that'll influence a lot of the rest of the draft. And when your confidence comes back, or if at this point, it'll revolve around these next couple of bans, because Nautilus taken away from EDG, trying to make that bottom lane a little bit safer. And
I
Jace
will take away
EDG.
Lux as well. Lux has been a nuance so far in all of these matches. And I'm pretty sure Meiko plays it.
Nah, take away HuaTian's Yasuo. I can't believe we've seen that 5 times in the LPL.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. We've seen a couple bot lanes use it already.
That's right.
But Yasuo has not been the go-to champions for a lot of people. Just the burst potential these days with so many shields going around, it's quite difficult. And they're actually going to take away the Fiora.
Okay, they think the matchup could hurt them. They don't want to let it go through. And no, stop it. Lux, as you mentioned, is still open.
Yep. Lux will be there, I hope, maybe? I think it's still going to be the Lux, but the question here is now, what do you actually use to counter the Aatrox? The Aatrox is such a difficult matchup in the top lane. Very few champions are able to deal with him on a one-on-one basis.
Lux locked in the end at this point. Now, finally, we get to understand where this Aatrox is going. Clement, you get to a point where in life, sometimes you get disappointed. This, I hope, is not one of them.
Yeah, they still need some engage options on Rogue Warriors.
There's
okay.
one.
So they're going to pick up the Cyan. Still can go mid lane. We haven't seen it that much this split. Potential.
We did seem to see it last game, though, so that would tell us that it would be an Aatrox jungle if this gets locked in. Expecting that the Cyan will, of course, go to the top lane hold-up.
We've seen some great Aatrox performances yesterday from Weiwei.
Still the same answer. And looks like it's going to be a Zoe in the mid lane. So, Haro taking the Aatrox, much like Tien, much like how FPX can play around that triple flex. Rogue Warriors here have done the same.
Yeah, so a bit lacking on the wave clear department, but otherwise very strong in the late game. This is a very punishing composition when ahead. However, the question is, how do you actually get there? I think mainly it's going to have to come down to HuaTian and Haro playing that two-man game. And we're going to see a direct counter. Wow, this is
there you go.
Scout special. Not a lot of LeBlancs running around the map this time, but if you cast your memory back to Rift Rivals, this is the champion. He just flat out got a solo kill on early.
And he styled on, yeah. Good to see Scout return to the LeBlanc into Zoe matchup. HuaTian going to be tested here. Top lane going to be tested by Jinoo. And Haro in the jungle, as you said before, going to be tested all around the map. Let's see where that graveyard starts looking good, Clement.
Yeah, so the general shape of the map is still going to be EDG is going to win out on the bot side so heavily. Top side, they're very safe with Karma. She's going to be Kleptomancy and farming up.
Hell yeah.
So it's going to be up to Rogue Warriors to actually disrupt that. And the only way I really see that happening is if their 2v2 can somehow break that mid lane synergy. If they can take out the LeBlanc, but at the same time, the champions don't suggest that they have an advantage there. It's going to have to come down from an outplay.
Especially when the Olaf, we're going to expect to see the Conquerors back again on this champion. You're not dealing with SOFM, who wants to be ingenious and take the Predator. But here for EDG, I mean, for them, we didn't talk much about their story because it's all about Rogue Warriors getting redemption and starting this split off at some point. Without a game win, without a series win. But for EDG, their run has looked great. And it's because of that man in the jungle, Jiejie, who, not on your screen, is going to the land of paradise. He's going into Haro.
We have to remember that EDG has just recovered from their worst split in history, getting 3-0'd by what is now DMO, and they started their split 2-4.
They smacked them back.
Yeah, but this time around, they're going off really, really strong, and Jiejie has been a highlight. We're talking about 4th generation of EDG jungle, aggressive, can shot call, can feel the shoes of Clear Love.
You get to a point where you say, out with the old, in with the new, and EDG were happy with their decision coming into summer. You look at Haro, you look him dead in the eyes, and that's what he'll be. If Jiejie finds himself in a comfortable advantage, once again, Haro versus Jiejie, Rogue Warriors versus EDG, game 1. Of course. When you're in Hongqiao, in Shanghai, remember all teams that don't have an arena come directly to Shanghai. Rogue Warriors, a team that that have a bit of support from last split, a relatively newer organization. But then you go up against EDG, who've been around since the dawn of time, to a degree.
Hearing a lot of cheers for some of our Chinese casters in the crowd, actually.
Invade started here, though, Clement, by EDG, straight to the blue buff. Haro starts with Raptors here, so going to be interesting to note the pathing of the Aatrox, who has also gone for the Conqueror.
Yeah, I do expect that Jiejie is going to try and find his way back onto the bottom side of the map. Vertical jungle actually does not favor them.
Oh, wow. Bad trade for ZWuji. iBoy can heal up, walk forward. Boomerang Blade not available just yet, but an Exhaust even comes out. Double Summoners down. That's the binding. Killua almost dies on the way in.
They have to be careful. No heal left anymore, but iBoy is going for the fleet footwork. We see this a lot of the times with just pure shoving lanes.
We don't have time to talk once again. HuaTian gets binded down the matchup, working well there. Haro coming to the bot side, but binded. Meiko can play precariously here, and iBoy getting free mana back. You talked about how this lane sucks for Rogue Warriors. Well, you're right, Clement.
It really isn't good. And they decided to ban the Fiora instead of the Lux, but they still didn't put Aatrox top lane. So I'm a little bit curious about that decision. And so far that you will see EDG spot lane start to slow down a little bit. Like we were talking about, vertical jungle does not actually fit their purposes whatsoever. They can't fight around here with Aatrox near.
That's right. So there is some positive here to Rogue Warriors that Haro can try and impact that lane and get somewhere, but the ability for the Sivir and the Lux to play safe is being shown here. The wave getting pushed in, ZWuji and Killua just trying to stack up some of the Klepto, some of the extra gold here from Spell Thieves, and that's the way it goes. Well, Haro can't get in. The rest of the map going favorably here for Jiejie, who's already invading. Look at this unique pathing. He got one scuttle, or rather missed it, and has gone against what Haro thought he was going to do.
Yeah, this is not a fight that Haro can win at this point. Early game, just with the Berserker passive, he's so damn deadly, that Olaf. However, they do have their bot lane in position. They are missing one summoner though, so this is a fight that's going to be very, very close.
At the end of the day, triple buff for Jiejie. So he hasn't picked up top side scuttle. He's made the path directly there. Enemy blue, his red, straight to his own blue, and now he's going to keep on clearing away. So advantage for EDG through the jungle at 3 minutes 50.
Oh, and what is Haro going to do now? There's nothing in the top side for him to really take. It's going to be a tough time. While you can see Jiejie still having those two camps on the map left, he's going to be able to transition towards top side quite easily.
Is a good read from Haro, though, to say that. Picks up the top side scuttle, so at least he's not getting blown out of the waters on all accounts. Will be able to give some of that vision. Does turn the map upside down from where we started, and might enable him to get towards Jinoo and get the map rolling for Rogue Warriors.
Okay, a vision advantage for Rogue Warriors. They do spot out Jiejie going over and take up the Raptor camps.
Yep.
So he's going to continue his farming position. However, this should stop Rogue Warriors bot lane from continuing to aggress on that side. You can see them backing out right now.
That's true. There was a small lead there for ZWuji. What you're looking at on the bottom of your screen is that the POV will be on Scout, who this game already has a pretty good matchup into HuaTian.
Yeah, he already forced him back to base once, just at level 2.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's how bad the matchup is going currently. And you can see that early corrupting potion from LeBlanc, just using those auto attacks to maximum efficiency.
Yeah, Darksteel alongside it as well. So it's actually Darksteel for both mid laners, but
snowball matchup.
Yep. And a 10 CS lead already. There's a small CS lead in the top lane. Jungle is huge at the moment. Once again, we're seeing an Olaf run out of control here in the LPL. Bottom lane is the only disadvantage, but that'll shore up with now things going back to normal. And Jiejie in his own jungle now going to find himself in the middle of some vision.
I will say I'm very impressed by the way Rogue Warriors has been warding up the entirety of the map. Like, Jiejie has been spotted multiple times just going through his own jungle. So if they continue to do this, they will be able to, just keep EDG in place. And this is a composition where if they can find the pick, it's so easy to then just snowball into a sieging comp.
Hang on, Clement. I know it's taking your breath away. What were you going to say?
Oh, that was about it.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just need to
ending to
transition
your
out.
sentence. HuaTian, I know it also took your breath, that the fact that this mid lane matchup is going exactly as we expected. Jiejie walks to the bottom side, and you're right about vision. Spotting him out is great from Rogue Warriors, but only if they can get something. And in the top lane, Haro's preparing to try and get that little something. That's onto Jinoo. He's nearby and level 4.
Yeah, this is a I have nothing better to do type of gank.
Yep. Jinoo. Be careful. Oh, pop there from Holder. He comes in, forces the flash. Decimating smash. He spears him for 1. First blood, a patient gank from Haro.
Somebody give this man an Academy Award. That was great acting from Holder. That was not a gank that is supposed to work most of the time. It was a gank where Haro was like, you know what? I got nothing on my top side. I might as well just back here.
I can back here. And Jiejie gets nothing from the bottom side, even shows his face.
Really well sold. And if you guys don't know, Yuumi can teleport around with the Ezreal and come straight back to lane. That's what's going to happen right now.
Only one bit of turret plating. So Clement, I look at Rogue Warriors and I say, hey, that start where you're almost behind 1k gold lead, that's different. Jiejie even going to get poked out here. This is an issue. ZWuji still hitting him down, but of course the Olaf will sustain it away, so he's out safely. And a dragon for first blood. It was only a cloud. So again, Rogue Warriors, welcome. Welcome to game 1.
Yep. Still a small lead on EDG's side, winning over the CS, especially in the mid lane. I guess they have top lane Kleptomancy as well. But the bot lane isn't going as well for EDG as we expected. Was pushed in from the early game.
He's dodged everything. ZWuji and Killua just kiked it around the Boomerang Blade, Ricochet, as well as the Light Binding. And net win again for the trade of ZWuji and Killua.
Yeah, and this is a pathing decision that is rather... it's a bit more mid-game focused than what we usually see. A lot of times when you have someone pushing in on your tower and looking to take it early, we do see the Ezreal just straight go for the Manamune to at least hold the lane open. But he's still willing to go for the tier stack.
Super aggressive to see the Sheen as well. Waiting for that Boomerang Blade. Hello. Okay. So that's what happens when Boomerang Blade lands and the combination from Meiko comes through. And that's why we talked about this lane not being as good for ZWuji and Killua, who, with the Scout roaming down.
Yes, this is what we have to pay attention to, because when you have two lanes with priority and you're on red side pushing in, what happens is you can shove the bot lane in and the bot lane can't rotate to red. They have to take a very long route around, and it becomes very easy to fight them near. However, you do see Rogue Warriors actually looping around and following this path very, very well. So Haro, I believe he is spotted, but he's at least clearing that side of his own jungle out.
Jiejie's picking up the blue buff, giving it over to Scout, and while his control ward will spot Haro out, an even better control ward over by the red buff there spots the rotation. So deep vision here, paying off for EDG as the gold lead's still there for them. 9 minutes in, Scout picks up a blue buff, walks over vision himself.
Yeah, they really need to start clearing that one. So as long as ZWuji and Killua can keep the minion wave about at that location, they should be fine. If you keep it there, then you can rotate faster than the red side. Scout, you need to be careful.
That was a mistake by Scout, I believe. Ran back to the distortion when he got the favorable trade. And even better trade there from HuaTian to send it right back. So although you pointed out the CS mid lead in the mid lane for him, HuaTian has the shove. He has Haro nearby, who has yet to be spotted.
Should be fairly difficult just to nail down LeBlanc.
As always. Heading towards the bottom side though, so with the shove in the mid lane, able to roam back out, get some of this deeper vision that we talked about. And there's defensive vision line already set up here by Rogue Warriors. Haro doesn't have a ward in inventory. He's only got, no, he's actually got nothing. So just pops his head into the enemy jungle while Jiejie's got other plans.
Yeah, and this is a situation where I feel like Jiejie should still have control over this side. If you look at his jungle items, he has his warriors completely finished, so should be able to win out on the duel if it does happen. And he's actually very far ahead in his CS lead.
Scout gonna get double blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Extend that timer.
Very interesting start from EDG. You actually rarely see this type of two-man invade onto the blue side anymore.
Also because Jiejie has warriors, so feels confident that he can take the 1v1 against Haro, even with the World Ender available now.
Oh, wow.
And that's a big lead as top lane does become bottom lane. ZWuji and Killua have rotated up here, Haro with them as well. So quick rotation here from Rogue Warriors, despite that top lane being in a deficit.
Yeah, so when you see a rotation like this, you know situations are dire because they don't have priority in either lane before they did it.
Oh, final trapped onto Jinoo, so maybe they don't, but maybe they can find something here. ZWuji underneath turret takes one. Two-shot barrage not available. Jinoo gets out with his life, but the rest of EDG have made the trade. And remember, these rotations as well, we talk about how Rift Herald comes into play.
Yeah, whenever Drake's down, everyone's heading towards the top side to fight over that last remaining objective on the map. However, EDG did swap a little bit later than Rogue Warriors, so even when they didn't have priority, it does seem like they are just giving up on the bot side.
But it's so hard when each and every lane seems to be in a good place for EDG. iBoy not caught out, but it is Meiko in the end who flashes away, locks down the ultimate in Aatrox. Haro at half health, bit of ricocheting blade comes through, the final spark onto him as well. His ult's going to come through, a flash undertow as teleport's coming in. Scout flashes over the back, ingenious pathing. He can't find the burst, but Meiko can. EDG up their first kill of the game. They lock down the side who TP'd in, but not to die. What great pathing there from Scout.
Yeah, that was a very ingenious idea and great last E coming in from Meiko as well. The Luminescence finding the last tick onto the target.
Oh no, Yumi's caught out without the partner. Eventually the ult comes in, best bait, they flash into a double, and they flash into the true shot barrage. Rogue Warriors make an even better play.
And guess what? Holder never left. Hey!
And he baited yet another play, or rather this time it looked like Killua did it.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. Nobody expects Asana to stay around that long in this matchup. So, interesting enough, EDG actually pulled all of their resources into the top lane to try and find that kill. They don't really get any. They get one, but what they trade back was definitely not worth it. And look at ZWuji right now. I'm not sure that Sivir can still push freely in that lane. Uh-oh, Haro.
Haro doesn't have an ultimate. Trouble Bubble lands on where the distortion was. Cleanse burnt. Key Summoner down for the LeBlanc mid. That was great from HuaTian. He is down CS in his own lane, but at least you get windows where you can. For EDG, still a big gold lead here in this game. And despite that small play, other lanes going awry, even that topsiders. We'll just take our eyes off that. We'll look at this bait from the Yumi.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know
Holder,
they flashed into it, but it was great.
Yeah, Holder was even standing on a ward. They just didn't expect him to start from like 0 to 60 in 3. That was...
You see the Yumi and you're like, I kill her in 1 second. That's all it takes. Yeah, it took a little bit longer that time. So, with the bait in mind, with the double kill now going to the Ezreal, ZWuji in a very good state in this game. That's 1 Q. Bit of E damage as well. So he's starting to poke out. With Killua by his side, he's just absorbing this top lane wave. And Iceborne already completed. Manamune coming very, very shortly. So a more defensive build path against a team that is relying on the 80 damage from the Olaf from the Sivir.
Yeah, was a glacial rush in the end, just to have extra wave clear on that lane. So that explains kind of the early itemization here.
Jiejie doing this in full vision, by the way, as the ult gets them at half health. Meiko gets locked on down. That's an easy kill. Jiejie caught out of position. Rogue Warriors get another double this time over to Haro. And things going from bad to worse as we're getting some Fed members on RW.
They did not expect the amount of damage coming in from Rogue Warriors. ZWuji just showed them who's boss. And that amount of crowd control going down. EDG, they were a bit lax on that one. The number one mistake I felt like they made was they didn't actually clear out the vision in that Herald pit whatsoever.
And it's starting to get to the point where it doesn't matter that all these lanes found their way ahead. Rogue Warriors being more proactive, getting some of these bigger picks, and Haro's now fed. ZWuji in a great position. They're going to give him the turret gold in the top side alongside with what seems to be this Aatrox.
Yeah, Meiko low plays happening over and over again. Yeah. Just twice that he's being caught out so far. And despite what I believe was a better setting for EDG early game, Rogue Warriors had great defensive vision, and they were able to just outplay EDG whenever they overstayed.
Now, having said that, EDG still get first turret, so they're still in a gold lead, but this Rift Herald charging towards the next turret. But iBoy, don't let it happen. Wait for it. There you go. Show your wings. And iBoy picks up the gold. Still, I was mentioning the kills before, but gold leads in individual lanes. It's going to take a little bit more than that from Rogue Warriors, but I like the direction that came off the back of this vision play.
So if you look at this, Jiejie actually still has his scanner, doesn't bother to sweep this one out, and just the 3-man versus 2-man play is way too much to deal with. I love how Uji starts the True Shot Barrage within his own control ward, so it's never spotted, and he gets the 2-piece on that as well.
Oh, HuaTian found himself a karma. Good block from iBoy, and Jinoo would have been dead. So iBoy is a true Chinese hero.
iBoy, best boy.
The only boy.
Yes.
ZWuji right on the money with that. You can see better communication in this series from Rogue Warriors too, Clement.
And this is what we were talking about. Don't look down at Rogue Warriors because they haven't won a game yet. They've actually had great early games.
It's showing again, but now it's the transition towards the mid game because Infernal's coming up. This is when we see a lot more of our skirmishes, and whose composition is best for skirmishes? Well, you'd argue for both, but at this point, when you have an Olaf, when you have yourself a LeBlanc, a Karma, there's a lot of versatility in EDG.
The issue with EDG's composition is that they're going to have a very hard time chasing down the Rogue Warriors unless ZWuji actually steps into a light binding.
Very true.
They can't chase him down whatsoever. It's going to be so difficult. This is a very strong poke composition. They don't need to be on the objectives first. They can start poking away, chipping away at you, and they also have map control and priority at this point. So it's becoming very difficult for EDG to play this one out correctly, and that's what I was talking about, light binding.
Yeah, into HuaTian, he flashes away, only just survives. Thank you, Zoomies. But HuaTian now with no summoners, and like you said, one pick here from EDG turns to the right.
Well, I guess if you throw enough light bindings, you're going to find one anyway.
That's
so
right.
I always feel like light binding isn't a strong form of engage, but players keep on proving me wrong.
But when you land it, yes, it is Clement, you know?
It's a very slow projectile.
But not if you can't see it. Half the time's out the window. Holder and WuJi going to try and prove that in a second. Undertow goes just as fast. WuJi almost takes himself a little bit of sigil. And with that poke down, WuJi gets low. Rogue Warriors lose the confidence, and EDG have started clearing out the vision. The Infernal Dragon looks to be theirs. Will Rogue Warriors challenge?
It's going to depend on the angle that they're coming in. I think Zoe's a little bit too far back. They can chase for priority in mid lane, but I don't think they want to take the fight.
Oh, on the hunt's been propped. EDG coming in some weird pathing. The found Holder is clearing out some vision, but will they be able to land him down? The light binding connects again. Holder takes so long to die, though, with the adaptive helmet over the wall. Jiejie always smacks HuaTian, but takes more damage himself. But EDG get out of there unscathed, and even more so Holder does too.
A lot of abilities used right there, but no kills. I like how Rogue Warriors played that. They just used Sion as a meat shield to close off the corridor on the top side. Give them a little bit more time on the mid lane tower. They got a couple of hits off, and that's all you really need. You have that Sheen, Iceborne Gauntlet.
Oh, flash there from Scout. WuJi burns one himself. Now that's what you're talking about. If you like LeBlanc, that's what she does best. Here we go, though. That's an ulti from Sion. Is he going to make it in time? EDG like, hang on, he's coming up mid, isn't he? They find out, but it is early enough. Holder doesn't reach the mark.
Yeah, it was a bit of a scare coming in from Holder. Started his ignition early.
He had to.
So I think what you're going to see happening is just compare Jinoo's build path. This is much more of a side lane Jinoo karma play than what we've seen previously from Flandre. So his idea is he actually needs to stay here and keep this Sion shoved in. This is a team where they need big areas around the map where they can use their extra mobility from Sivir to actually close in on targets and get that uneven number team fight. So the build path really reflects the need for a split pushing option on EDG. They don't want to sit underneath this tower the entire time and try to face off on Uji, who's already this fed.
And I've noticed a lot in regions like LEC, LCS, we see a lot of this build path of Luden's Echo first into something like the Arden or the Athene's Unholy Grails. So second item, the Aether Wisp, of course that goes into Lichbane, but that also goes into Arden Sensor. So expect to see that as a second item now for Jinoo, as EDG are going to find themselves a little fight. It's Haro who's going to have to pop the ultimate soon, but will it do anything? Like Binding connects! Haro's dead! Hiya!
Those a little bit tragic for Haro.
See that? How many times does Meiko land his ult? 100% down the bottom. EDG jumping in for the fight. They can't find the cat book. Instead, it's onto WuJi as HuaTian gets reattached to with the help of Killua. It's 2 members dead. Scout, that's a fake one. Trouble Bubble lands onto Jinoo, but how are you going to follow that up? HuaTian pulls himself into more danger. Rogue Warriors down the man advantage, and soon this turret will be down as well.
Rogue Warriors being way too ambitious. Haro trying to start the fight with Scout himself, and then you see ZWuji Ian with no flash on hand. What did you expect was going to happen?
And this is why we fear things like Scouts, LeBlanc, and iBoy, of course, on the Sivir is wreaking havoc, but Meiko is smacking with this Lux pick.
Yes, it's their only form of stable engage, and they've been
like this. Who did you lock down? Holder, and HuaTian almost died in the process as well.
Maybe EDG don't need engage.
Maybe they don't, Clement. They made a believer out of you. They're 3k gold up, and what you talked about was Rogue Warriors' early game, and that's true. It's great. But then you get to the mid game, and I asked, how would it transition? Right now, not well.
Yeah, they're being a little bit too impatient on getting these pokes off. Now, this is a Scout POV. Dodges out of everything.
Oh, and
we just come back.
And we will never do that again. Well, I apologize for that. What can you get out of that? Scout likes to go in. Correct.
To be fair, Haro started that.
Love how we're promoting POV. It's probably not like that. It's a little better. Have you seen the POV stream yet?
Oh, yeah. I watched a lot of them. Very educational.
Yeah?
Yeah, about positioning, timings. You really realize how tight professional players play these games. I think it's the same with pro views as well. A lot of their backs are just like straight on the money, 0 gold left in the bank. Use everything you got. And SOFM's particularly is very interesting. Like, he's unique even among professional junglers for his pathing and stuff.
That's true. I know you were talking about that before because he's just got this unique mentality, unique way of life in League of Legends as well. So This time it is Scout on the point of view stream over on Douyu if you feel interested in checking that one out. But Scout almost towards his second item here, and the LeBlanc's starting to already do enough damage as is. But now I'm focused on iBoy, who has the Infinity Edge. It's the 2-item power build here on AD carries, and iBoy clearing these waves instantly, and now holding a candle to ZWuji once again.
Yeah, so Rogue Warriors, all they need to do is just play this safely. If they can continue to just like try and poke out EDG, they should be able to hold down this mid lane for a very long time.
We'll see. Meiko almost gets one of those light bindings again, Clement. Killua by himself, risky, but he knows the light binding's down. Jumps back to ZWuji, jumps back to Haro, and contesting this Ocean Dragon next on the menu. Holder's in a bad position here. Might have to ulti to get himself out, but which wall does he run into? It's this one they jump on anyway. Scout has found ZWuji, almost destroys him. League of Legends, not a game he gets to play this time around. And with the AD carry that down low, Dragon now, theirs.
Oh my god. This is actually ridiculous from a Scout.
Yeah. What did you expect? He gets one of his best picks?
It's super ballsy because you know the Zoe's right next to him. And he's
you
like...
think he cares?
Probably not.
How hard, like this is why it's such a good matchup. How hard is it to land the trouble bubble? You gotta predict, or you gotta put it on top of where the distortion went. And EDG, after getting that double ocean, they run it up the mid lane in a very good way. Holder used his ult before, so the flank makes it even harder.
Yeah, EDG are just winning out so hard on the skill shot war. Like, they've been finding the chains, they've been finding the light bindings, and Holder has been using his ultimate on nothing most of the time.
He has an adaptive helm, and it did that much damage. So, Scout heading with a blasting one somewhere else. Meiko gets burned down, but HuaTian in bad position once again. Cleanses over the wall. Scout gets him anyway and chunks him down. Rogue Warriors sticking around the mid lane. We're just 5v5ing. Screw the side lane. Let's keep going as Scout slowed down by Holder, but no further follow-up.
This starts to feel like an ARAM for...
It has been an ARAM for about 5 minutes,
yeah.
I feel.
Both of these team compositions are very, very poke-heavy.
But if we look at who wants to stay in that 5v5, well, it's EDG right now as they lock down the tank once again into the Ragnarok. They want to just kill Holder before it begins. They find him. Scout jumps in first. Clone takes up some of the damage and he survives. But now in another 4v5.
And this is one that's going to get very close. HuaTian finds the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but good side blocking from the rest of the team. These double oceans are really so good for EDG.
I take it back. It's a Spellbinder on Jinoo. So this time, we're not even going defensive. Jinoo doesn't get pulled back by the Infernal Chains. And although his shield's not doing much, his Qs are like a nuke. I thought,
and that's
you know
the
what?
first time we've seen that on Karma.
I was like, Aether Wisp, Lichbane, Ardent Sensor, and then I'm like, hang on, there's one more item. But nah, it's not Spellbinder.
You know what he's getting that for?
To go fast?
Yes, he's going to run straight into Uji's face and leash him down like a dog.
He is almost 50 CS above the sign. Now, that's to be expected. But the fact that he's 200 CS in a game that's been so bloodthirsty is great. Mind you, the bottom lane in iBoy is 267 CS at 25 minutes. So he's on track. And if we're just talking about CS, he wins the game. Or the battle, rather.
I felt Rogue Warriors had a great opportunity in the early game. They had everything set up. They actually found towers. There was a lead on Uji. And then when it came to the poke war, Scout just outplayed the entire team.
Yes.
Like, he was in and out. He forced... How many times did he force ZWuji out of the mid lane?
At least 3.
There was no poke for them to actually give. Like, ZWuji had a great start. He had sustain as well, but couldn't find the damage onto the enemy team.
And then it comes down to the point where Rogue Warriors just can't withstand it any much longer. And EDG move to the side lanes. They clean up those outer turrets. And now with all of them broken, Baron is a wide plethora of vision for EDG, but Rogue Warriors have to push into contest.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them. They have a lot of abilities where they can always check the pit, so they shouldn't be caught out by any means, but there's going to come a time where EDG is going to hold on to that control for long enough where their damage just scales to the point they can instantly take it. I think that's what's going to happen right now. You're not going to see EDG try all that much, just rush straight for the Baron, and still they'll try to zone and poke. For Rogue Warriors, they'll just keep on checking, and this is going to go on for another few minutes.
Oh my god. Yeah, put a ward down. You won't see Scout until it's too late. He sends a Sigil of Malice out once again. On the hunt's been popped here by iBoy. They just really want to fight, and HuaTian key to sorting out those engages, but Holder with Yuumi on his back, still just zoned away, and EDG have cleared everything apart from that one ward.
Yeah, this is not a composition where EDG can reliably expect a catch to happen. There's too much checking going around.
Hard to find someone when Scout is just over every wall at every turn. Holder poked down a little bit, but he's tanky enough. He pops the onslaught now, goes into the Olaf though, who denies it. They find the final spark. Holder drops first, and iBoy picks up the kill. More bank in the pocket as the True Shot Barrage nicks Jinoo's little pinky toe. Rogue Warriors lose another member, Clement.
I don't understand that engage at all. You can see his entire team. No one was willing to follow up on that.
EDG can head towards the Baron. They can pick up a Scuttle. You do you. Because at this point, with a 5k gold lead, with Scout having a party in the mid lane doing whatever he wants, and Jinoo with his full Nuke Karma build, it's hard for Rogue Warriors to get towards this.
All right, Uji, you've done this once before. Can you find it? Oh, never mind.
Jinoo, but Scout's in the back line. Haro can't get the reset. HuaTian as well. Scout goes in for the double sandwich. He wants the chicken schnitty. Let's go for it. EDG pick up another 2. And Clement, this doesn't stop because EDG are out for blood.
They definitely are, and that was insane damage coming in from Scout. Just popping him over the wall, flash follow-up to finish the sigil, and insta-kill. Like, I was hoping ZWuji was going to pull off one of those miracle plays like he did against RNG. Get the Penta, get the Baron steal. But none of that happened.
Believe all you want, the Blade of the Ruined King Azrael is nothing in the face of people like Scout, Jiejie, Jinoo. Like, everyone from EDG is in a comfortable position. One small steal from Holder there doesn't make up for the fact that EDG picked up Baron, picked up the fight, have 4 elementals with the 5th one on the menu.
It just feels like EDG did a skill check in the mid lane and found that they were the better ARAM team and just closed it out after that one.
Hey,
oh, so we're seeing the Scout again. Gets the Haro kill.
Killua was like, thank God I didn't die.
Yeah, that was a flash W. Very hard to see the animation
Man,
when he's coming
plays
over.
with massive HUD, by the way. Like, that is like 100%.
Hey, you got to see the minimap.
No, yeah, the minimap I get, but seeing your abilities like up in your face, like, what does my Q do? Scout,
it's about
of course.
the cooldown. It's about the cooldown.
Yeah, no, it's very true. He knows exactly what he does. He knows what the 2-item LeBlanc's going to do in this future fight. And Fiendish Codex blasting one. A lot of CDR now on the LeBlanc. And level 15 Scout is roaming for more blood with Jinoo, who has a Void Staff. This is what you love to see. The top laner who we knew was confident going into this matchup, pick up what is, now I've coined, Nuke Karma.
This is the best ARAM team you could possibly get. There's so much poke on this team. It's actually insane. Everyone building full damage. They're converging at this point, and even if Rogue Warriors land something, they can't kill anyone. It's Ocean Drake, so you can just rotate one person off. It's going to take a full-on engage, and we need to see Holder's ult actually do something.
Yeah, and then followed up by HuaTian with 2 items. The True Shot Barrage comes through. iBoy does take a chunk, so that's a start, but that's almost 4 items Sivir, who can still pierce through the waves. There was a mid lane turret taken down, or rather the bottom lane turret was taken down. Yes, mid lane almost taken down. Wave is going to crash in, and
here we go.
With Baron now getting engaged on. Holder does find the engagement. Not enough. The Yuumi dies on his way out. Holder goes down as well. EDG is so far ahead. Right now, I don't even think 100 seagulls with fish and chips in their bellies could attack this squad. EDG going for the inhibitor, and Clement with 2 members down in Baron. They can just look for the game. They flash forward. iBoy hits him once with a boomerang, and it doesn't come back. EDG nuke the backline. They swing through. They're looking for the second Nexus turret, and it's all on the back of people like Scout. They're looking good. They're looking strong. And in game 1, they get all the rewards on the fountain. They hit the Nexus one last time and sit Rogue Warriors in the corner where it looks like they belong.
Congratulations to Edward Gaming, our ARAM champions of 2019 summer. They proved that they were better on the skill shot accuracy, that they were better at finding the enemy back line, and that's how they took over the mid game. You have to remember the start of this game, there was a huge lead for Rogue Warriors. They were starting ZWuji at 2 kills and 2 assists.
They look
with
great.
a half an item over iBoy. And then the poke war just happened where Scout found ZWuji multiple times. They got the double Ocean Drake. And I just don't know what the communication between Holder and the rest of the team was. It was so off balance.
Because when you play that well in the early game, when Haro gets a double, when Wuji gets an early snowball as well, you're like, hey, Rogue Warriors have transitioned these lanes into something. And then ARAM played for 5-10 minutes. And we're like, holy moly. You know what the Shy says about ARAM? It's about skill.
Yeah, it's
and
a
EDG
great
has the
place.
skill.
It's a great place to practice your mechanics is what the Shy told us about the ARAM. And EDG definitely took that to heart. Like, this is the best ARAM play that we've seen in a very long time. I'm proud of this team.
Yeah, I really am too. And it goes to show you that for EDG, there wasn't false hype coming into this split about how this team would go. And with the change-ups of Jinoo, this is a team that people are getting behind for good reason because they're performing better and better. And even with a deficit in the early game that built up, they were able to smack them down.
Yeah, and I want to see Kesman go on stage and start throwing wrenches at his team. You know, you can dodge this, you can dodge those skill shots, and play a good ARAM style. So this is a weird game for me to look at because I actually felt like Rogue Warriors didn't do the wrong play necessarily. Yep. They had the poke advantage. They go mid lane. They have a gold advantage, item advantage, and they just try to poke out the enemy team. You know, you hit a couple sleepy trouble bubbles, and you get going.
And you're like, oh, nice one.
They got outpoked.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really weird. This game just feels like a pure display of skill, as Ezra might say.
And it's still back to EDG's mid game, and you're like, what has EDG always been good at? And like, what at their core, how do EDG play the game? It's like through a mid game can be really great. And like that was one of their really great mid games that people like Jinoo to be highlighted. I know he was quite quiet because Karma can always be quiet, but in the end, he presses R, he presses Q, and that's exactly what Rogue Warriors did, the RQ. So a rough early start here in the series.
Goes 9.
And yeah, that's 9 games in a row that Rogue Warriors have yet to win.
Yeah. This one's really hard. I just feel like they got out-skilled, you know? There's not much to say. They lost like a dodgeball game in the middle. And Killua just, like, remember Killua, keep your hands and your head inside the truck vehicle at all times.
At all times.
Yes, it's very dangerous jumping off when you see the light binding. He jumped off the light binding into the final spark house.
It's like, well,
pretty funny.
You're damn. And Yumi has no HPs, you know? So it was rough. But for Rogue Warriors, like I said, it's more of a redemption story that for people like Haro, he can shape his own identity in this team, and he did to a portion of that game. But Jiejie is still being very consistent, and I think that game was no exception.
Yes, I actually loved Rogue Warriors' early game. Like, they read the conditions for EDG's composition so well. They defended their own red side jungle, preemptively swapped, and then just caught EDG out doing the weird things that they do in the early and mid game. So all that looked really good to me. I was like, yeah, that's a Rogue Warriors squad.
I want to see it transition into a mid game. That comes with game number 2. If Rogue Warriors can finally get their first win in the LPL against EDG, a very difficult task to find out right after this break.
10's the charm. Here we go.